Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pilot On podcast.
Yeah!
Uh, uh,
We're coming in for a good time.
we're coming in for a good time.
Not a long time.
Not a long time. How are you doing, baby? How are you feeling? You're
I'm good.
struggling.
No, I'm.
You're good.
Hey,
You're not
give me half a
struggling.
chance. We're doing as best as we can today, and that's all that we can do.
Well, we had a fun time. We played a little bit of not Beat Saber. Well, you played Beat Saber last night.
Uh-huh.
We got the. So I got the Oculus.
We drank a little bit last night.
We drank
We're
a little
hungover.
A little hungover, and we played the VR.
We got an Oculus.
Like children.
And we played VR. And we played Star Wars because it's very scary. And we spooked ourselves last night. We had fun.
Yeah, it's very. Grace is very good at Beat Saber. Weirdly,
I love it. I'm a gamer now. I've been eating cup of noodles and playing Beat Saber, so I'm literally just fully taking on. I got that stringy gamer body where there's no muscle but a lot of power to it.
Yeah. A lot of power.
That's
what I thought too.
Yeah,
a lot of power.
I have a false sense, misguided idea that I am so strong in VR and I'm so powerful and capable and cool, and on the outside I look like such a dork.
Well, and you also you were very cool last night about agreeing to play the Star Wars because I got freaked out in the Star Wars game because it's a little scary.
I'm scared of VR in general.
Yeah.
I think I was drunk enough that I was having a great time.
Oh, yeah. You were getting real feisty with the stormtroopers.
I was getting real sassy with the storylines and their inability to help me at all because I guess it was all up to me to do everything.
I know.
And I clearly was the least capable of our bunch.
It's also got a sassy robot in the Star Wars.
Yeah, that Maya Rudolph is the voice of.
Yeah, it's nice.
Which is
you were she was too sprightly for you. I think you wanted to get down to business. And
I wanted to get to the
birthstone or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of small talk, and I didn't. It's very fun, but I didn't need the small talk. I wanted to know what the mission was.
Yeah.
Because I got scared, and I just wanted to get right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. And look at you. Good morning.
Doing fine. A little hair of the dog. What can you do? Guys, this is a podcast where we. As in myself, Elliott, and Grace here, talk about what we've been watching.
Yes.
And where do we even begin?
What have we been watching this week?
Should we start with all of the number twos?
Sure.
We stopped
doing... Do you want to explain what that is?
Absolutely. I will explain. That's a great thing to explain.
Because, I handled it. Never mind.
Yeah. We stopped watching Frozen 2 just now to make this podcast.
Yes.
Before that, I was attempting to watch Back to the Future 2 at one point, which Grace did not super.
It was too much. Look, I was a little high,
it was too much.
And it was too much.
But,
everyone was at an 11.
But yes, it's too much for sure. That movie, watching it through your eyes and seeing how too much it was, made me realize that. Yeah, it was exhausting me. You were we were.
Well, I didn't have the context for anything, and I understand it's all stylistic and purposeful, but when
very
you're coming
dumb.
in,
That's a very dumb movie.
Yeah, when you're coming in cold to a movie that's hot, it is a jarring experience.
Yeah, because there's a scene that's set in the future, but it's Michael J. Fox playing all the characters.
Yeah,
and in a way that's really kind of just obnoxious.
Well, it's so campy. It's campy to the nth degree, and everyone is playing a weird cartoon voice. It feels like one long improv scene, but it's with a budget.
Yeah. We also, though, on twos, y'all, listen to this.
This wasn't purposeful. This has been accidental that we've discovered that we've only been watching twos.
Yeah. We're just trying to create a narrative a little bit, make it more compelling and more tighter podcast.
Sure.
We watched Jumanji 2.
We watched Jumanji 2.
Let me tell you something.
Wow.
Jack Black.
Oh.
He's amazing.
He was great in it. And
The Rock did great too. Whatever.
Everyone was great. The thing is, everyone as an actor in that film was great. The premise of that film was, it was. The theme of this podcast is Grace gets overwhelmed immediately by anything you show her, and that's what happened in Jumanji 2. It's just a lot of layers. They're playing. The premise is that the kids go into a game and they become the avatars of the game avatars.
And they're on an adventure.
And they're on an adventure. And then this time we had to keep in mind the original avatars because they went into different avatars, and so it's the actors playing different embodiments of these children and older men.
And you hadn't seen the original one,
I
so
hadn't
you
seen
were.
the original, so it's
Yeah.
it was a lot to get caught up on.
I'm surprised, baby. Your amount of bravery that you've been showing
I've
lately.
been doing it
It's
for
incredible.
you.
Yeah. You're not
So
afraid to get a little overwhelmed by Jumanji too.
Well, it's not only is it so layered and you have to remember who's playing who and who represents what human in the real world, but then the action sequences go on for like 30 minutes there's no aside, there's no like funny little breathing room moment. There's just straight action back to back to back, and at points I realized I was holding my breath during it, that I was like, I can't breathe. Oh, because I'm not breathing.
Yeah, she got upset. She was like, I need a joke. I need someone to calm down. I was like, are you having too much fun?
I need to watch an animal sidekick have a hilarious small breathing moment.
Yeah, it was.
I need to watch it like fall over and get up and like shake itself off, and that's all I need to just like breathe, and then we can get back to The Rock saving everyone's lives.
I will say about Jumanji that it is very interesting that they don't really do that. Like it is interesting that for a family and kids movie, the action sequences are just they're really long.
They're really long. And the deaths are just like, they make no excuses or apologies. It's just like a video game. Like, here's death happening, and it's in the context of it being a movie for children. You're like, holy shit!
Yeah,
she just straight up died.
It's a lot of heavy themes in Jumanji.
But I guess it's also like, this is what your children are watching when they play video games. So like, why should we sugarcoat it in a movie?
And they make them poof. They make them poof into air, you know?
Yeah, they lighten it a little bit by that little like ka-ching noise when their life goes away. And
it's
they have
beautiful.
A good one. Yeah.
Guys, speaking of back-to-back action, though, there's another show that we started watching that eventually I was like, no more. We can't watch this. It was a show that during it, Grace turned to me and described this show as being a room in hell that she didn't know existed. And we're here to talk.
I forgot.
We're here to talk today about The Floor is Lava.
Guys. Okay, if you want a new game show, that's the title of it.
The show we're talking about is Floor. Yeah, The Floor is Lava.
It's on Netflix, right?
It's on Netflix, and
it's brand new.
You know, there's so few feelings as good as when you can get mad at something together with your partner at the exact same rate. But I think we got so mad at the show because it wouldn't get into the part where they play the game for like 5 minutes.
It's just a solid 5 minutes up top of the narrator explaining exactly what the game is, and you get it immediately. The floor is lava. They create a room with all of these different obstacles, and they fill it with water, and adults have to traverse these obstacles and not touch the water.
Water that's like orange fluorescent
and
sludge.
It's gross.
It's gross, and when they go down, listen to this. When they fall into the lava, everybody is told to go
as
and
if
scream
they're
like
actually being burned alive.
Yeah, but they don't show the people coming back up from the liquid.
No, not like in Wipeout where they fall off into a water situation and then they come up and they swim to the side.
No,
you
they
never
disappear like they fell into lava.
They actually disappear.
You never see them again.
And when you are a little high watching this game, it's a wild ride for your brain to be like, I just need to know that they came up for air.
They came, yeah.
But
it's perfect.
The game, so it's...
Oh, and such unlikable contestants. My goodness. I haven't the second episode's great, and you find some people that you like, but the first, gosh, it's like
it's also
Ohio. Like the whole state of Ohio is what they cast.
It's interesting.
Nothing against Ohio. I'm just saying,
Yeah, that really threw them under the bus.
I was trying to think of a place maybe like Utah or something. Somewhere in the middle.
They basically it's interesting because it's not like Wipeout where it's edited all together to show you like the biggest highlights of their running through an obstacle course. This is basically unedited, and you're watching 3 adults, it's teams of 3, do a physical escape room.
Yeah.
Because there's different ways you can get out of the room, and you can like push things over and pull different cords that drop things down.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're watching in real time, basically unedited, 3 people talk through, and they're clearly coached to talk through audibly all of their feelings and thoughts about it,
boy.
because
I know where you're
it's
getting.
like it's like The Circle, which you never watch,
No.
but The Circle is people talking through every social interaction they're about to send via like their social media thing. Which is not how real life happens. You think thoughts in your head, not audibly all the time.
Yeah, you don't.
So,
yeah,
yeah,
you
so-
like to think you do.
Well,
the
that's
goal.
why, unless you have a podcast, and
Right.
then you've
Just sort of see what happens.
the irony abounds. But no, they clearly have produced. The producers have probably told them like, make sure you're keeping conversation going so there's no dull moments, since they're not editing around it, right? So they have to keep them talking like a podcast.
Yeah.
But there was this group of triplets.
Oh no, I forgot.
And this is what
All right,
prompted
whatever.
the special room in hell line. That these 3 triplets just had a
Okay.
lot of personality.
This is a. I'm gonna.
I'm hyperventilating a little bit just recalling the situation, or I'm hungover. I don't know.
You know when you know how someone is gonna be when you meet them, you know, and they're the exact way that they seem. Like,
Oh,
you know,
that
when
your first impression is correct?
Yeah, this was that times 3 because
Times
they're triplets.
3.
And
Oh.
the way they were is like, I get it, man, because the thing is, you know, we get angry at things, and it is usually a reflection of what's going on inside of us
Yeah,
in some level.
It's an
And
insecurity.
there was an amount of jokes that these guys made in a constant effort to be funny and be on that I found very, 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 very frustrating and unable to, like, I would start groaning so I would drown out the sound of them making these jokes constantly. And I get it because they're trying to be fun and they're having a good time, but it's that trying to be funny thing, and I know what that is because I've done that my entire
We do it right now.
years and doing it in this moment.
You're them in this moment.
So there is hypocrisy here, but wow,
It was
still stand by it. It was too annoying.
Well, you know how you have everyone has an acquaintance or someone they know that is a little socially awkward, but also, you know, makes jokes, has the idea of what making a joke is, but doesn't have the ability to make like an actual joke. So they make the structure of a joke happen, but it's not anything new or revolutionary or profound. It's you know, they're mimicking what someone that is funny does.
They don't have their own comedic voice, and so they're parroting.
Yeah.
And that it's not people's job to have comedic
No,
voices.
but
So
you laugh out of politeness, but they take it as they're very funny, so it gives them fuel and they keep going.
Like-
Everyone has one person they know in their life immediately that comes to mind. Imagine that person having 2 more of them that are identical looking and also believe that they should be making jokes because it's funny and that's what they do. This was that. It was unbelievable how much they were joking over each other unedited for 8 minutes.
in the show, like
It was
they're
so
doing
much.
it. They're doing it while like hopping onto a big
Well, that's
like.
the best part is that they're making stupid jokes about like them being strong and like making fun of each other, and then suddenly one of them would have to jump from like a bedpost to like a settee, and they would get scared actually that they couldn't do it. So you see this sudden wash of like terror in between, trying to be like, oh, you know, you could do it. You're
Well,
like,
yeah,
oh,
because-
just like Tarzan. Oh. And it's like, what? That nonstop.
That's the perfect example of the kind of joke.
And
That
it's
made-
like,
there you go. I might have to kill these. I'm gonna have to find these people. I'm gonna kill these people.
to be fair, once we got over the initial horribleness of it, it was
And
hilarious.
Other
to
groups
watch.
were great to watch, and but there's something about the show that's trying to be
Fascinating.
Yeah, but it's also trying to be more intense than it is, and so like
It doesn't toe the line well enough of how silly Wipeout is and like Holy Moly, those kind of shows that are just like they're trying to be so stupid.
yeah,
And this show, I think, doesn't go enough with it being just purely stupid. Like they try and make it actually intense and difficult, and you're like, but this is just stupid. Look
and
at
also,
these.
it's like somebody will be like in Wipeout. You know, we love Wipeout. We all
Love
love
it.
Wipeout. It's basically a perfect show, like
Yeah.
Survivor. And it's got big red balls that people slam onto and
The
bounce
sound
away from.
effects are the greatest
It's
use of
perfect.
sound effects I've ever seen in any. I mean, I don't know how they don't win Oscars for sound
Yeah, it's like vaudeville.
editing.
It's like old school, like
yeah.
Three Stooge type stuff. But all the little
It's every
the
single cartoon accent in Final Cut Pro X that I've ever used gets used. It's like boing.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's like your 2014. Anyway, so this show is not like that because it doesn't look impressive when they're jumping from like one thing to another, but to them they think it is. But they're only jumping like 4 feet because we're used to seeing bigger stunts. It looks kind of lame. So you combine the lameness with the intensity that they're going through with constant jokes that aren't good.
Yeah.
And I think we love the show. I think I love the show.
Thing. I feel like I'm still conflicted, and that's why I want to keep watching it because I can't. Wipeout, you know what you're going to get immediately, and it's an easy, like, turn this on, and we got this right away. This show makes you work for it. And so it comes across like the show that doesn't make you work for it, and then it does make you work for it, and I don't know if I like that.
They spend so much time explaining
but also,
the course.
Look how long
like,
we're
cares?
spending explaining this show.
Right. It's called The Floor is Lava.
We are The Floor is Lava as a podcast.
Oh, yeah. I just complained about people trying to be funny.
I know. But it's been, I would
have
say
a lot
watch
to think
it.
about right now.
It also makes you wonder because it's stuff that looks so lame, so you assume you can do it, but it's actually kind of difficult. Like imagine trying to jump off of this countertop onto that giant pig thing behind you. Like it doesn't look super impressive, but it's also probably extremely difficult to do.
It's also extra stressful when the floor is lava.
When the floor is lava. I mean, it's a great idea for a show.
intense.
The reality is I'm just so upset that we didn't pitch that show, nor are we hosting that show. So that's where all of the projection comes in. What fun.
I know. I was thinking about what kind of a game show. I mean, obviously Joe
we gotta come up with a game show.
Well,
I mean, you guys
Joe's
have
got Trivia Bidet, and he's got movie game, and he's got like
genius about it.
he's got a brain for game shows.
Yeah.
But I want one that's mine.
It's
or
yours.
ours. What would you do? I guess you can have it too, but I want my own.
Thanks.
Like Pat Sajak and his big head.
His big old head.
His big head and his perfect job. What kind of a game show? Do you have any pitches?
I don't know, but see, something like a Wipeout would be so fun to just like call the shots on. Also, something like Ultimate Ninja Warrior, where they're actually doing super impressive feats of physicality, would be really fun because I love watching humans like physically do cool shit.
I know, but that's
and see,
not the kind of show
I know that you wouldn't like that, but I would lose
I'll watch it.
One of my greatest abilities is getting excited about things, and I think I'd make a great host for something like that because I can go from 0 to 60 when I see someone like grab onto a ledge that's a centimeter thick and they traverse it. I'll lose my fucking mind for it. Yeah, that's to the point that they'll need me to calm down.
Yeah.
But that I still want to get my show. Mamrie and I did pitch one time. We ended up pitching a game show that never got made, but the whole weird part about it was that we went in and pitched a movie to this company, and
movie.co
movie
company
movie.getsmade.edu, and in the movie premise, this couple wins a honeymoon by going on this game show that's like Wipeout, but for newlyweds or people that are engaged. And after we pitched the whole movie, that's the first 10 seconds of our pitch.
Yeah,
and
they
then
were
we
like, tell us about
and
the
then they
game
literally
show.
go, can you tell us about the game show? Like, is that a real game show that you guys have thought through? So we went and created a deck for this game show and then came back and pitched it. And I think, the game show was called The Amazing Embrace. And so,
whoa, that's great.
So it's basically like Legends of the Hidden Temple meets Wipeout meets the Newlywed Game. And so it's different rounds, and some of them are trivia rounds like the Newlywed Game, and some of them are physical rounds like Wipeout or Legends of the Hidden Temple. And it's
is it like teamwork stuff?
It's teams of couples.
You tie up the couples and they have to work together.
Yeah, I mean, we created this whole deck for it. We didn't come up with specific like physical stuff. We met with the guy that created
Cats and Pixie.
Yeah, no, I
Merv
wish.
Griffin?
No, we met with a guy that was the producer of what's the game show that they just had about like Bejeweled or something, the app on your phone, or Angry Birds, and they made it
Temple Run?
whatever it was that they made into a giant
No, I
game
don't know.
show in a studio. Like we went to the set that they were making that and talked to this guy
Oh,
to
cool.
get advice about Amazing Embrace, and then it
Oh,
went
wow, yeah,
absolutely
right.
nowhere. And the guy was basically like, no, I mean, that's a huge idea, but like, if you don't have any experience or your foot in the door of game shows, you can't just like make that. And we were like, yeah,
but
so
we
like,
have
this is why we're
YouTube. We
meeting
do
you.
YouTube, so
So if anyone's out there wants to hear more about this idea, I can develop it further, which I think is still a great idea for couples. You watch all these
Yeah.
engaged people and you get to like see the fragility of their relationship as they're trying to compete for their dream honeymoon.
That's great. I mean, imagine the talking heads alone when they are talking about what they messed up or where their partner messed up. So
Exactly. Or things
great.
that they find out about each other along the way. There's so many opportunities.
So many-
Please let me make this show. Now that I'm talking this through again, I have a newfound passion for this project.
And if shitting on the floor is lava doesn't get our foot in the door,
Ugh.
I don't know what will.
Well, I got great taste in game shows,
That's just
and
notes.
I'm obsessed with people in relationships, i.e. Married at First Sight.
Which we'll talk about, but also just to mention my game show. I've talked about this before, but
Yeah.
I would still do the man versus bear show that never came to fruition that I auditioned for, or man versus dolphin, or man versus corgi, or like basically do
I think
competitions with animals. I think that would be
corgis,
great.
I
But
mean,
bear
something
specifically is really good.
Yeah, but if you develop that down to something involving corgis, which is like, you've been looking at this meme, Elliott's been very obsessed with this
Oh my
new
gosh.
corgi meme. That corgis, what is it?
So I just saw a thing that was like, I'm fascinated by how if you mix a corgi with another breed, it just ends up looking like a corgi dressed up as that breed, or wearing a disguise as that breed.
Uh-huh.
And it's all these photos of corgis mixed with other breeds, and it does look like a corgi pretending to like
It
wearing
looks
a
like-
disguise.
Yeah, trying to get away with being a little Dalmatian or
Yeah,
something.
and some wonderful person DM'd me and was like, "Hey, there's a whole subreddit for this called Incognito." r/incognito, and I went to it and I was like dying laughing. I was like, babe, look at this. All these dogs are corgi mixes, and each one looks like it's a corgi that's got a secret. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
And they're not
Super.
hiding it well. Are you gonna throw up?
Oh, I get so excited about
We're
it. Of course I was.
thriving. We're thriving. Yeah, and you were so intensely looking at it that I thought something was wrong because, lately we've been intensely looking at our phones and there's been a lot wrong with the world. And when you were like, I'm on a subreddit of corgis, I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing joy into our lives.
Pure. Yeah, we've had to cut back on
Yeah, thanks
on
again for
social
letting
media.
me rant last week, but coming in with on lighter notes this week.
Now I'm gonna do the
but-
rant from the opposite political side of the aisle.
That's where I just happened to the footage from the camera doesn't record for some
Yeah,
reason.
it just goes
Weird. I was bringing up the corgi thing because
Uh-huh.
I think there's a show there. There's a game show idea
Yeah.
of how can this corgi be something else? Like people trying to actually convince or get away with corgis being dressed as other things in real life.
Yeah,
like
I
a
like
hidden
that.
prank show, but with corgis as the center
Yeah.
thing that drives
Like-
it. I mean, it's a work in progress, but I think there's something there. There's something in
Definitely.
mind there.
There's a
get
germ of
this.
an idea
Yeah.
that'll blossom.
We prank people by dressing up corgis to be certain things in real
Right.
life and seeing they can get away with it. I'm talking about like inanimate objects though.
No, like
if
totally
you
a
like
duffel bag.
corgi lamp and
Yeah.
you're just like in a cafe when they can open back up again and there's just a corgi sitting there pretending it's a lamp, not telling you that it's not.
And if you
And then
don't-
you just see what people do. It's the most harmless prank is putting a corgi in a public situation dressed as something it's not.
Oh yeah, you just have to get a very still corgi.
Yeah. A very sleepy corgi.
Very sleepy, at peace with
Ugh.
itself, not a lot to do. Corgi.
Or also another idea, just to keep it super simple,
a lamp
is you
dressed
just
up as a corgi.
dress up a corgi as something and send it into a public situation. It doesn't have to stand still. It can walk around.
Sure.
And then you just see how people react. Like if
Like-
a corgi was dressed as a Statue of Liberty and just walked into the coffee
You know
shop,
I would lose my mind.
what
I
would you
poop
do?
my pants.
I know.
I would poop on myself.
I would pour my coffee on my head
Yep.
immediately,
I would
and I
know.
would sue no one for my burns.
I would pour. Could keep pouring. I would know in that moment that would be the happiest moment of my life, and I would have I'd have a
But that's my-
psychic break.
That's my prank show idea: is you just send in a corgi dressed as something completely that it's not, and you just see what people do. Nothing can really go wrong. If anything, the corgi will bring that whole public space together.
There's something about a corgi. Okay, there's something about a corgi doing that it feels like the corgi knows what it's doing.
That's what I mean. It seems like it's up to something.
Yeah,
There's like a purpose behind it. That's where the prank comes in, the social experiment of how would you actually react if a corgi came in dressed like a briefcase and just walked around in like a JCPenney where you're shopping. Like, what would you do? What would you do? It's
So
not
the
just a
title-
loose dog.
The title would be like,
Incognito.
yeah, but I don't want to take from that. That's so
Okay,
good. That's
yeah.
not. I mean, it's good. It's perfect, but it's
Uh-huh.
taken by the.
Okay.
By I don't know, Incognito. Obviously, we'd have to.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the most obvious one. But I also like, is that a corgi?
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause-
Wait, is that a corgi? Are you watching? Wait, is that a corgi?
Yeah, W.
They get a corgi to walk in?
TC. Yeah, you wait for the corgi to walk in, and it's always dressed as something perfectly that it's not. Oh, it'd be so great because it's so harmless. What would you do?
Most of them are. Some
It
of
would-
them are little jerks, but that's part of the
Right.
fun.
But the fact that they're dressed up seems so purposeful that it's the most confusing thing.
I had the thought the other day, babe. I've been following this account on the Insta called Limbazi or Imbazi something. It's a chimpanzee at a. I should have clarified that first.
Yeah, I was like,
Um,
who is she?
But
Mhm.
it's a wonderful chimpanzee,
Okay.
and I love chimpanzees very much. Have you ever held a chimpanzee?
No, it turns out as an adult, I'm scared of animals
Yeah,
more
for
than I
sure.
really believe.
Especially chimpanzees, because they'll look into your eyes.
Well, that's the thing. It'd be too intelligent and too it moves too much. Like
Yeah.
even a sloth that moves barely at all also freaks me out. So
I've done pitches where for zoo shows just because I want to meet a little chimpanzee and I also
Uh-huh.
want to meet a little baby elephant, and I just want that's like the only things that are actually on my bucket list. and
well, you got a
dolphin, and-
birthday coming up in 10 months.
I know, and the last birthday I got to meet that cool octopus because I
Uh-huh.
wanted to go to the aquarium like a child.
Yeah. And you're allowed to do that as an adult.
We just found a photo of us.
Wait, but you're getting off track with the chimpanzee. What was the account?
Just how badly I want to hold a chimpanzee.
Oh,
that was the whole thing.
point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
got
No,
it.
I
I
just.
didn't know if there was
It's
a
just
bigger,
they're
broader
so
idea.
cute, and I'm like, how do I make a show around?
Yeah.
You know, we found a photo of us in London, and it's me holding a newspaper that says "Coronavirus Grips Europe," and it's like
Wow. Yeah.
doing a little
This
like
hits
tourist
different.
shot, and yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, good. My alarm for waking up this morning just went off at 11:30 a.m. That's what I thought we would be doing this morning. So if anything, we are succeeding beyond what we thought we were capable of last night. I thought I'd need to be woken up at 11:30 a.m. this morning.
Yeah.
So
I remember
Wonderful.
that. I remember being like 11:30. I was
We'd
like,
be
"Are
like,
you?
I'm
Did
letting
you
us
do
sleep."
like a drug?
melatonin.
What are you thinking?"
You okay?
Man, drink beer and it's all. Anyway, Married at First Sight,
Married at First Sight.
Australia.
Australia. I'm very confused by this because they're rolling out. We watched. They play like 2 episodes a week, and they're each an hour long, which is the equivalent of one American 2-hour episode. But they've also married more couples.
Yeah, they keep bringing
There's-
in new shipments.
I think there's like 8 or 9 or 10 couples in total that have been married.
That's too many.
It's too many. However, now is where it gets interesting because they're bringing them all to meet each other. So they're all having like a big mixer with each other, which is fascinating because they all seem way more interesting than any of the Americans.
What's up with that? Why is this a different version of a show?
I don't know because my theory is that I think I said this before that this show must be on the same level as like Love Island as The Bachelor is in that country. And
Yeah.
so think about everyone that's on The
Yeah.
Bachelor. That's who's on this show. Like that's what this is. Whereas, oh, perfect. Everything is falling
Whatever.
apart.
Let's just leave
Hold
it.
on, I
think
got
it's
it.
great. I'll just keep it going while you're doing that. They don't need for the audio folks. They don't care. The light just went out if you're just listening. The light just came back on if you're listening, and there's no reason to edit that out. I think that's a nice.
It's perfect symbolism for
Yeah.
where we're
You're
at.
doing great.
You're doing great.
I'm
No,
fine.
I think Married at First Sight is that it's the kind of casting pool that The Bachelor
Yeah,
has.
it's a more legit budget. It's like
Yeah.
when you hear about like how David Hasselhoff was big in Germany, it's like Married at First Sight's pretty big in Australia, but
Yeah, it
not
seems
so
that
much
way.
here.
And it seems like they cast people that have a certain TV quality.
They probably also
Whereas,
sold
like,
you know what it is? They probably sold the show to a better network. Like
yeah,
this production company probably sold the show to A&E.
with more money. I mean, they're
Yeah.
sending them on honeymoons all over the place. They're not going to like a weird Holiday Inn in Puerto Rico that they've got like subsidized. It's
I can't wait when the new
American season comes out.
yeah, and
Well, they
and we
haven't.
can relive how I love how horrible that show is.
Well, they can't record anything now because we're still in a pandemic. Wear your goddamn masks, everybody. And so the crazy thing that I'm a little curious and maybe nervous about is the idea that they're going to incorporate like Zoom marriage
No, I'm out.
dating.
Absolutely not.
I don't know how they can stick with their
That's
schedule.
insane.
I know, but I'm just trying to think in their shoes if they're production and they owe a season to a network on a certain timeline, like how do they adapt?
I'm already. If I see one more commercial of people on Zoom being like, "I like pizza," I'm gonna smash the TV.
I know. The Zoom commercials are.
The Zoom commercials came out of nowhere, and everybody did it at the exact same time, and it's super weird.
It's
and,
very strange, and it feels like placating so much.
Oh, it's so pandery, and
Yeah.
it's so like, isn't this exactly what you're doing?
It's
And
like, oh,
shut up.
you
Yes,
know.
it is.
Yeah.
And shut up.
Yeah, I did talk to all my family on Zoom, and it was really cute. And my mom did have an issue with her camera being turned off halfway through.
Yeah.
But I don't need to see that mimicked in like a Pizza Hut commercial.
Yeah, I don't like being like, this is a universal problem. I like being like, we all gotta just do this video thing for a while.
The pilot on it just become, we're mad at everything that's not us.
I said that to
two
Grace.
grumps.
I like you, and I don't like anybody else.
I know. These are just two fucking grumps. And we have no reason to be so high and mighty about our taste levels. We're watching garbage. Can't we just appreciate anything?
We know there's an underlying knowledge. We know.
Yeah.
We know.
You only make fun of the things you love.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there's no real point.
Okay.
And that's where I gotta go. Right. I'm gonna start talking about Trump tossing that dumb glass of water soon. So get me out of here. What a dumb fuck.
Okay. All right.
What else have we been watching? Well, okay, the Married at First Sight Australia. I am excited because they're about to all meet each other.
Well, and we watched that scene that you showed me that was like a wonderful.
I wish I could remember their names.
Mature argue. Oh yeah, there's no way to remember their names.
They're
Australian and they all look the same.
They all look exactly the same,
and
they all have the same.
They have the same haircut.
Same haircut, and they all have the same type of personality. There's not a differentiation of like type of person they are.
All bro.
And that might be very terrible to say, but there was one scene with a very gorgeous looking woman and an attractive guy, and I guess he had gone out the night before and gotten hammered, and then like the girl got upset and she walked back to the hotel room by herself, and then the next morning he went for a run because he was so hungover, and he with one of the people that I guess he met at the hotel that they were staying, and then came back later and she was still pissed off, and they're talking it through on camera. They're like recounting, like clearly a producer off camera asked them to like describe what happened last night. And I know this feeling too much. It's kind of what's happening right now, that just like unfiltered hangover talk where you just say exactly what you're thinking. He's like, so she got mad last night and I really screwed it up, and then I messed it up again this morning, and I can't do Australian accent. He's like, I messed it up again this morning. I went for a run, and then I came back, and she's probably like, what am I doing, wasting my time with this guy? And that's obviously I don't want to think that way. And he's just literally saying everything he's thinking unfiltered.
But like, he nailed it. Like everything he described was like the most
self-aware idiot. Like it was so pure and like succinct, and then they get into a conversation and they come to the understanding like he's apologizing and she's so stubborn that she like won't accept his apology, and he's like, how can you how can I dig myself out of this if you're never going to accept an
You
apology?
said Shakespeare couldn't have written a
Yeah.
better apology.
Yeah, it was
Come on,
right.
Shakespeare couldn't have written a better.
See, this is why they're so funny.
They're so great, and also
They're
here's
charming. Even in their idiocy, they're so charming.
so charming,
And I don't mean that they're idiots. They're all they're just so fun.
young in their youngness.
They're lively.
They're having fun. Whatever. We don't
They're living out loud.
we've crossed the line of
We're just bitter grumps.
no, in defense of the broiness,
Yeah.
though, there is something about dudes who are bros who the thing I think that they get that they don't get enough credit for is this nonchalantness to what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And the way this dude was like explaining everything, it was like
Owning everything that he had done wrong.
Yeah, for people like or guys who maybe are not so bro-y like myself, when there's something where you realize the situation, it's like a big deal. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I figured this out. You must be feeling this way, and I'm so sorry.
And I'm seeing the situation for what it is.
I'm trying to have empathy, and I need to have empathy. And like we're all in our heads about it, but certain bros are just like, I was a dick. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, you gotta forgive me. I was a dick.
Yeah, because we're never gonna move forward.
I
did a bad thing, and I'm apologizing, and I own it, and you have to accept it, or else we're gonna be stuck here. We both don't want to be stuck here. And then they get to a point where he goes, I guess I went for a run today. I didn't want to go for a fucking run. I'm hungover as shit. Is what he's talking about. He's like, I went for a run because I didn't want to be in that room. And then he realized that the run was a metaphor. He's running away from his problems.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's,
you're right.
I'm running away from my problems. She said he's running away from his problems. And he was like, yeah, you're right. Like literally just took it in, accepted it. And then he goes,
got a good guy.
And then he's laying there and they start like joking around. And then he goes, maybe you're not the only one with walls up. And she like leans over and like does this and holds his hand. And it was like the most beautiful moment.
Beautiful.
Oh,
We've also been in quarantine for so long that the what was it yesterday?
What?
You were like, it was when we were watching Jumanji 2, and Grace out of nowhere goes, that character's gonna end up dying in the game, and I was like, I don't know why I just got so emotional like about that happening. I was like, I think we have to leave. I think we have to escape the house a little bit. Anyway. It was a beautiful moment. That was great.
It was a great moment. Are you gonna be okay?
It's just the beer burps, you know. I'm sorry. It's gross.
I know, but you hide them that it makes it look like your body is fighting it. That I'm like, just let it out. You don't have to fight it.
Yeah, it is funny that it physically makes such a louder thing than the noise would just be if I let it out. But that's gross. I think it's so gross to be like, bleh.
I know. I'm sorry. I do that all the time.
You don't do it all the time.
Thank you. I try not to. Well,
Anyway.
I'm exhausted. The Hangover. You've watched the Hangover fog slowly roll in throughout the course of this episode.
We had enough energy to get mad at some people we don't know and will never meet.
I'm gonna go back to sleep and set my alarm for 3:30.
I like this episode more than last week's episode.
Me too.
Somehow it's better.
That was like a burp. We got it out of our system.
We were like, we have to do it.
We're back to what is fun for us and feels fun and good. And I miss feeling fun and good.
And that is the end of the podcast.
Uh-huh.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.